The content discussed in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial or mortgage advice. Always consult with a licensed professional before making any decisions regarding mortgages or financial matters.
Welcome to the Canadian Mortgage Show. Here are mortgage professionals Alex Pang and Alex Shanks to cut through the BS and educate Canadians on all things mortgages and real estate.
Now, Fraser Institute is saying that over 105,000 Canadians left Canada to get health care somewhere else out of country because over 20,000 people every year die waiting for care. Welcome to episode 71 of the Canadian Mortgage Show. Alex Pang here alongside Alex Shanks. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, Alex. I heard you were in almost in an earthquake here on the weekend, weren't you? It was so loud in Seattle that that there was an earthquake around you.
Oh, that was a crazy game. So yeah, those of you on the audio video side, I'm wearing the Seahawks hat, and I'm going to be wearing this until our season's over. So hopefully that results in a Super Bowl win, which I will fully deck out in my Seahawks gear. I was at the game this past Saturday. Man, we were stressing leading up to it. I'm like, we were favored, and I'm like, is there any way San Fran's going to win? Because always nervous being a fan. We started out with a bang, and it felt like our version of Beastquake for Seattle fans out there. I know we're kind of regionalizing it. 2011, when Marshawn Lynch, I don't know, I think he ran 75
You off
yards
like
against-
have it.
yeah,
Just
push
flew off.
guys off, get off me,
Well,
and yeah, there was a minor earthquake. So we had a punt return, or not a kickoff return for a touchdown. It was a Rashid Shaheed. He did this. This is the third time he did this for us this season, and we were in the stands. And when he broke a gap, the stadium just erupted. And it was my son's first time at a game. And in my first playoff game, it was mayhem. And I told him I ain't gonna make it.
yeah.
My heart. It was amazing. It was a great. Did it translate through the TV? Like, you watched the game, right?
No, like I mean, they never show like they don't like the noise that way. Like it was like, holy shit, like what just happened? But again, I mean, it's not the same as in person. Even like I watched the Caleb Williams last night. I started losing it. Everyone at our house, like, what's going on? I'm like, did you not just see what happened? And I mean, it was crazy to me. And I mean, in live, it would have been nuts. And so
Yeah.
the TV just never translate that excitement.
Yeah, even I saw it yesterday too when they scored the game tying touchdown. I'm like, oh, and they did a 3-out in overtime. I'm like, hey, you just need to get into field goal range. We might end up playing Chicago. Lo and behold, he throws an interception. I'm like, okay. And then the Rams end up winning. And we all felt that for Seahawks fandom, we all felt that the Rams Seahawks is kind of inevitable. We were hoping for, a easier opponent, kind of the be careful what you wish for. But my goodness, this is like the Clash of the Titans. It's almost like the winner of this NFC Championship is going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested. It's exciting, and I'm lucky enough that Alex is going to share his tickets here with me and my wife. That we now get to go to the NFC game, which is just amazing, and I'm excited, and I'm scared for the noise. I'm definitely going to be bringing earplugs because it's going to be loud.
No earplugs necessary. When you go to a concert, you don't need earplugs. It's just part of the whole fandom. And I think the way, for those of you who tune in to listen to the Mortgage Pod, you can fast forward to the 5-minute mark. We're going to talk sports. But the way Lumen Field is constructed, it's an open air stadium. So, for those of you who aren't aware, you get exposed to the elements, and it does rain a lot in the Pacific Northwest. But the part that we are in, we were undercover. So that part was covered. But the way it's constructed is it's got a metal roof, and the noise, it just travels. It bounces off the roof back onto the stadium. So my brother-in-law brought his 2 sons, and they sat in the lower bowl. And I asked him, like, hey, is it as noisy in the lower bowl as it is in the upper? He's like, yeah, just as noisy. It's like we're one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. So it was crazy. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I think Arrowhead might be the only other stadium that gets louder per decibels compared to I still find it weird calling it Lumen Field. It's CenturyLink in my head. That's it. I haven't been to it since it's been Lumen Field, and so I'm excited to go back.
Yeah, so they had the decibel meter. It hit 111 decibels on Saturday. I don't think it was close to the record. Alex, you want to look up what the record was? I'm sure it was during Legion of Boom days, the
Yeah.
record for Seahawks. But yeah, it was amazing. It was we had it recorded. My son recorded I think right after Shaheed scored the touchdown, and I shared it on social. Man, it was mayhem. It was crazy. It was a great
100 and
event.
so it was in 23rd, the record for the loudest noise in a sports stadium was held by Seattle Seahawks, reaching 137 decibels during a game against New Orleans Saint. This record was set on December 2nd, 2013, and was later surpassed by Kansas City for 137 that way. So it's, yeah, I
Okay.
mean, it's pretty, pretty crazy. And it's,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, all my jerseys. I mean, I have a Russell Wilson jersey. I have a DK Metcalf signed jersey. I have a Tyler Lockett jersey. I have a Thomas Rawls jersey. And then who else? I got one other, but I think I'm gonna wear my old Marshawn Lynch jersey. I
Oh,
think that's what I'm
wonderful.
gonna wear. Gonna bring the beast mode.
Awesome. Yeah, I was looking for a Marshawn Lynch one too, but I ended up getting a vintage one, Sean Alexander, because my son's middle name is Alexander, and it kind of worked out. I like the vintage colors. So
Let's jump into it. And I mean, there was lots of news last week with everything that's going on between Canada. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the US stuff, but obviously there's still just wild things going on there with regards to Greenland and everything. But this is a pretty big deal here. Canada and China have trade deal confirmed. China's going to cut off the tariffs on its grapeseed to 15% and suspend duties on canola, lobster, and other products. I believe this is going to be good for opening up other things. Now, the only problem is Canada has to import 49,000 Chinese EVs at a 6% tariff compared to the 100%. Now, I feel like me and you, Alex, and BC, like this isn't as detrimental to us, but like someone in Ontario, especially if their family works in the union, like this is a massive thing that could greatly affect them. It's probably something that they're going to be scared about is like, hey, what if more of these vehicles come in? Are we even going to manufacture vehicles anymore? And that's always been the fine line of yes, their vehicles are cheaper, they might even be better, but again, do we want to keep outsourcing all of our jobs?
yeah, I mean, yes, on the surface of this is, I mean, it's not good for the Ontario auto sector, and I mean, it's already not doing well. I mean, largely because of the tariffs that between the U.S. Now, this thing is probably not going to help that. But if we project this out longer, let's say these Chinese EVs do well, and I'm pretty sure they will do well. I mean, China's going to invest more into building EVs here. So there could be more investment in infrastructure like EV plants and all that stuff. Now,
That's what I
if
mean.
there's
Like, why isn't that talked about? Be like, hey, we're gonna bring some of these EVs right now that are actually manufactured in China, but be like, hey, if this actually works, let's have you come and build them in Canada. Like, make a partnership that way. Like, I think that would be one. It would help a lot of people in Canada not be scared. For one, Mark Carney, what was it, in November, talked about the biggest fear for Canada was not US, it was China. That's what everyone was scared of for their national security, and now it's like, oh, we're all gonna buddy up to them. And so obviously we have to give away some things because of what's happening in the US, but like I feel like we could leverage more stuff here to be like, hey, let's do more in China. Let's help bring you clean energy. Stop using coal. Let's bring you more clean energy. And let's also manufacture some stuff here in Canada.
I mean, for those critics who say, "Oh, you're importing all these Chinese spy vehicles," I'm like, my response to that is, they already know your stuff. I mean,
Oh, fuck
your
yeah.
iPhones or whatever, most of the like it's mostly
We
manufactured in
think these
China.
the yeah, exactly. We think that China, it's the big companies in the US that are really taking our data. Like, and it's again, if they want to look at my stuff, they can go ahead and look at it. Like we if you want to be online, the internet, if you want that, like that is what you're giving up, is they get to see it. Obviously, hey, they should not be able to look at your camera while it's live. But we know that back, what was that? Snowden, when like it was proved that the US was actually spying on people directly. Was that in 2016? I can't even
Yeah,
remember,
yeah, I
but
heard about that.
that was the military was straight up looking at people through their cameras and like, hey, that to me is a no-no. But hey, like if they want my data, go ahead, take it.
They're like, honestly, I mean, I'm not that important of a person. I mean, they already know people's behavior already, like, with TikTok, Instagram, and whatever people searching. And like the anecdotal thing where a lot of times people have these conversations and they didn't search it on their phone, but it shows up on as Facebook ads
Oh yeah.
or something like that. Like, and we know like, they're listening into our devices and all that stuff. So, I mean, we're putting tinfoil hat on, but I mean, are you a CIA operative or anything like that? I mean,
Yeah.
geez, like I'm going from
What are they
one
gonna
bedroom to another.
Yeah, that's I mean, even that, like I've seen some videos of people like in China, like I know they're supposedly there. They say a lot of people say that they have a social credit system that if like anything, and like there's a lot of people debunking that online as well. Of like, hey, like it's a credit system, and so everyone's always there's never a greener side. We all have to remember that is people are going to say China's worse than the US. People are going to say US is worse than China. Like we all have to work together as an entire world. Like we got to stop focusing on like, oh, I don't want to deal with this one person. And actually all connect together.
And the funny thing was like, oh man, this deal is not going to help our relationship with the US because we're essentially siding with China. Well, I mean, when Trump was asked about our deal, he's like, you know what? Good for Canada because they need to. So initially there was no I guess no feelings of like, oh, we're gonna punish Canada for choosing a side. I mean, we'll see how this plays out eventually because honestly, it kind of goes back to what I said is, I mean, we're not the big fish that US is kind of targeting. It's mostly with China.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. I mean, obviously, that's where the U.S. is really caring. Hey, and I mean, if Canada sides with NATO and stuff and says, hey, if you go attack Greenland, well, then that's where I mean, what Trump is saying that they're going to throw tariffs on everything. But again, like that's not. It's I don't believe it's going to happen. I feel like this is like news being blown out in the world. To maybe tinfoil hat to hide other things.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? On top of this announcement too, we are welcoming Chinese investment into the energy sector and including the oil sands. Like we've long
I
talked
mean,
about. We need to
most
exploit.
oil sands are owned by most Chinese companies. Like
Yeah,
that's been years in the making. It's been scaled back, but obviously they're like, oh shit, we need to bring more money into Canada again.
exactly. So, I mean, in a joint announcement with the Chinese government, Canada said will welcome Chinese investments into Canada in areas including energy, agriculture, and consumer products as part of a joint economic and trade cooperation roadmap. So, they also signed an MOU on strengthening energy cooperation. So, this is a deal that follows rising petroleum exports to China from Canada. So, well, this is also great news. It kind of takes the pressure off us dealing with US. Now, US will always be our largest trading partner, but
Yeah,
it's good that Canada is looking to diversify.
yeah,
Now, at the same time, MOU is just the MOU. We still
yeah.
need
It's just
to do the whole thing about like I'm talking about you, David EB, in province of BC. We live in this province. We need to get over ourselves.
yeah,
The world wants our resources, and this will allow us to flourish, which means when there's investment, what does this have to do with housing? We're a housing podcast. What does this have to do with housing? Well, if there's more investment in our country and our energy resources, there's going to be manufacturing plants being built, more jobs being created, right? It may not be the job that you're in right now, but when one thing closes, another thing opens, just like how the auto sector does. Sure,
yeah,
your GM, your Ford plant may close, but hey, maybe a BYD or a Xiaomi plant opens up, whatever it is. There's going to be shifts in creation of jobs.
yeah,
Now, when more people have jobs, there's going to need housing.
yeah.
When you need more housing, that helps the housing market, right? Not to say that all of a sudden housing is going to shoot to the moon, but right now we went from going from one imbalance to another where there was 4 million people that came in, prices shot up. We had to pour cold water in it with interest rates shooting up. Now government went to the other way, shutting off immigration. And now there's a ton of supply everywhere and there's just total imbalance, everything. So anything, it just balances out and it's better for Canada long term.
Yeah, that's I mean, we need more investment, so we need to bring more trade in and everything. And so I don't think I don't think it's a full negative. I don't think it's a full positive, but it's great that for one that Canada is going other places. We do have another one, Quater, and Canada have also agreed. Qatar, sorry, not Quater, Qatar have also agreed to terms. The thing that's actually getting me is the news that announced this. They said Quater. That's how they pronounce it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Qatar, but now my brain keeps going back to Equator. But Qatar and Canada have agreed to terms for long-term investments. And this is into Canada to help build the big projects that Mark Carney's talking about it. And so the funds are going to come from them, obviously investing. And the goal is to build a better relationship together, which, hey, we know that we don't have the money here in Canada. Is it because we're giving it all away? Maybe. Or we need to bring more investment here.
I'm curious to find out why Canada? If you're on the Qatar perspective, you're already in the Middle East. Is it because um, you know, there's trade tensions amongst Saudi Arabia and the Middle East? Is that one of those things? It's almost like Qatar is like Middle East version of Canada, where they're so tied with Saudi Arabia, like how we are so tied with the US, that they almost got them by the balls and they're looking to diversify. Is that,
I think that's, I mean,
you
that's the
know?
same as us going to China and stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's where I think it's just, hey, we got to divest into smaller markets and let's open up other avenues.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear if anybody, like, I'm obviously not versed in this area, but like if there's anybody who's educated enough to talk about this, what this means for Canada, we welcome that comment or and such. So, I mean, inflation came in. It actually came in this morning here. December inflation, it increased to 2.4%. It was driven by the GST holiday being over. Um, is this right? GST holiday? Do we have a GST holiday, or is this old news here?
No, because you're comparing to last year, like at this
Oh,
time,
right.
remember inflation is year over year. So last year's inflation was quite a bit lower. And that's why we're increasing because we're comparing last December compared to this one. And so that's why there was the GST holiday then, which is now affecting this data that way. And
All
so
right. Well,
the banks are like, everyone's looking at it being like, hey, like, is this true? Because also the other data was not really true because there was a bit of a drop on it as well. And so that's the big thing here. I mean, the banks have already kind of calmed out. The one nice thing is core inflation has cooled a bit. It's not rapidly increasing. Yes, this is up, and is it near their target range of 2%? It's a little bit higher. Again, like the really scary one is food inflation. It went up by in 8.5%, which is like that is not cooling whatsoever. And what is we're going to talk about it here, the Ogalokablies in a little bit. And hey, where is this like? I want to see them prove to me that, hey, they're paying 8.5% more too. I do not believe it. I believe that they're making more money and this is just for them to increase their profits. Um, we pretty much can take this. There is now going to be no rate drop by the Bank of Canada here at the end of January. There's been no other price spike on bonds. So right now, bonds and fixed rates are staying the same as well. And that's where, to me, we're until something drastically changes, rates are where they are. Don't expect them to go lower. There's no reason for them to go higher, but they're not going down.
yeah, I expect to see more. It's kind of a longer build where the case towards more rate cuts, as we move further along into the Februarys, the Marches, the Aprils. Um, I mentioned it earlier this year, late December, when if we see unemployment crest the 7% mark into the 7.5, then that's when the Bank of Canada is under a fire, and we might hear more chatter about that. But until then, it's kind of trending towards what we've been talking about. Now we shift gears here. Is you know this isn't news, but approximately 50% of Canada's population in real estate saw a year-over-year decline in prices in December. And so if you look on the visual side here on YouTube, we've seen this before. The biggest drop was Hamilton, saw a 15% decline year over year. Other areas like Barrie, Windsor, Niagara region, the GTA saw double-digit declines. Now, out here in the West, Greater Vancouver, 6.4%, and where I'm at, the Fraser Valley, is that 4.6 or 4.8? Can't see it, but yeah, around.
4.6, I think. I'm surprised that that is not bigger, to be honest. I thought Fraser Valley would be above Vancouver and even higher there, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's probably more of the absolute figure in terms of cost for home and affordability. I mean, your area in the island is not. in there, but where do you guys are you on the green side or
We're I
positive?
mean, yeah, like I mean, I said before, like, and I think I even said it wrong. My actual BCSS went up 3%, not 1%, and so like we're up there. You can see Victoria's up 5%, and yeah, the areas on the island, like prices are increasing.
Yeah, like anywhere in the green, we've well documented the affordable areas in Canada, the Calgarys, the Edmontons, and funny enough, Kingston, isn't Kingston part of the GTA?
I think so, but it's again a more affordable area of
Yeah.
there as well.
Okay, so it's probably one of the the cheaper parts of the GTA that probably saw up in terms of affordability. Now, in other areas like, Saskatchewan, Newfoundland, Labrador, Quebec, Montreal, um, because yeah, Quebec is obviously because they've controlled immigration more so than the rest of Canada. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, even if you're projecting out over this year, I don't see this changing. We'll probably see a little bit more price drops this year before it levels out um, coming up here. This kind of goes on to the next graph here. National home sales finished the year down 2%. Again, I say national from the Canadian Real Estate Association. Now, we spent almost 3 years below the long-term average number of sales. Now, if you see this graph here, there was a major sharp drop during the onset of COVID, followed by like the 180 degree and just spike during the post-COVID years right after from 21 to 22. And then like we said about with pendulum swings, when government intervention and interest rates, all that stuff, we're kind of in the middle of a 4-year correction, to be honest with you, and it might be another couple of years before things start leveling off. Don't you agree?
And that's like let's go here, Alex, and I'll ask like where like not even talking about prices or anything, but like where do you like where would if you could choose a time back like let's say even 30 years ago, what time period would you choose that you think that it was like easier for the economy, better like for today? Like what time period would you actually choose that way yourself?
Well, might give this away for our next agenda item. I would say it's probably like 25 years ago. Probably like this is kind of around before the time we started looking to buy ourselves, in terms of incomes to home prices. Yeah, I would say in the 2000s, like early 2000s, you'd say in terms of affordability.
I mean, I'm back. I can't lie. I was still in high school at that time, so I mean, I liked life back then. It was a lot less stressful for me. I would choose around like 2012 to 2013. I bought my first house in 2011, and I knew like my income was decent, well above average for other people, but it wasn't anything crazy. I was able to buy a townhouse, and I think that was a really good time for people that had jobs. It was still affordable. Vancouver area, no, but many outskirts areas. And so that's where I chose. Like I feel like it was less stressful back then. Again, I didn't have kids as well. So it's easy to reminisce on these other times. And the only reason why I brought it up, Alex, is we all like to go backwards and say, oh, well, it was easier back then. It was better back then. You have to be in the moment. And right now, like I'm actually quite happy. I would be fine where interest rates are. I'd be happy if home prices didn't go up. Yes, do we all want appreciation? Of course, but I also would rather see the younger generation be able to get into homes. And I mean, even if homes don't appreciate, it is still going to be very hard for them without increases of actual jobs. And so that's where I'm enjoying this time. Like there's turmoil across the world, you could say. But I have a good family. I've got my friends and everything. I'm getting to go to a Seahawks game, and so I don't want to compare to the past. I'm only going to look at the future.
Yeah, I mean, when you speak of like 2012, 2013, yeah, we bought our place in 2011. Um, since then, our home has more than doubled in price. So at the time when we bought it for like 800. And at the time, it was like, holy crap, that was expensive at the time. And you know what? We scratched and clawed, help from family, whatever. We got in. And yeah, since then, it was flat for the first, 4 or 5 years. We're like, man, did we make a wrong decision? Because our old place went up in value. Ours didn't. But we moved there for our family, for our kids, for the school. And then 2015 happened with, offshore money start coming in, flooding the system. prices start going up, and then the values of our homes gone up, and now it's like, yeah, geez, it's more than double. It's like, man, close to 2 million. I'm like, we're not wealthy. It's just the way our life is, and yeah, it's just a symptom of how it's been in the GTA and Greater Vancouver. It's almost like it's not like we're smart or anything. It's honestly, we got in at the right time, I guess, and we didn't
Yeah,
time
I
it.
mean, I always say this, like Alex, like we always say, oh, we got a little bit lucky. I know for me and my wife, like for us, when we bought our place, like we put a lot of hard work, like buying properties, fixing them, and building them, and everything. And same thing, Alex, you just said it right there. Yes, you bought and it's increased, but you had to do a lot of hard work to make that happen. And so that's where people have to forget, like maybe you have to get a loan from family, maybe you have to go work somewhere else to make it happen. The funny thing where you're talking about like seeing the value increase, I don't really look at values, to be honest, unless I have an investment property and I did it for a reason different that way. But like the home prices for me increasing, it is for me like the cherry on top, especially my principal residence. I've never been looking at it that way. I bought this place in 2023. I thought I was going to lose value. It's increased, which is amazing, but that is not why I bought it.
Yeah. Funny you say that. Personally, my wife and I are already planning on downsizing. So
Mhm.
my youngest is grade 11, and so we don't want to move before then because we don't want to have to drive him to school every day. So we're gonna stay in this area until at least he graduates a year and a half, and then this is not the straight downsize to a condo. I feel like we're gonna do the transition downsize. We're gonna downsize into a townhouse and then maybe eventually a condo if
Yep.
that works out. But my wife doesn't like a condo. It might just be at the townhouse. So we're already kind of looking at like, hey, our financial burden would be a lot less. I actually see this. Woo! I'm actually looking forward to this and not having to maintain this big house. And like, yeah, it's great. Everyone's dream is to have your own single detached, but like, it is responsibility. And in our case, we have renters, and they've been great. But I'm looking to simplify my life and not have so much financial obligation. I won't be mortgage free, but my mortgage will be a lot less, and I'll be like, oh, I don't feel
Now, if
have
you move
so
to
much
Ireland,
pressure.
you may be able to become mortgage free,
Well, that's
but
different. Yeah.
you're gonna have to wait 7 days for Amazon.
Yeah, it's gonna be different in life, but slow transition. The area we're looking at is only 10 minutes away. We're looking at a townhouse with like a rooftop patio. We're like, oh, this doesn't even feel like a downsize. It feels like we're upsizing our life, even though it's cheaper. So we'll talk about
That's
more
where I
about
mean,
that.
it's yeah. I always and I mean, we're going. We built a bigger house and we went down to lower size. Like to me, I feel like the one thing that we've seen across Canada is we've gotten a starter home now is 1,800 square feet. We're back in the day, like getting something around 900 square feet. That is other issue of like our homes is we've just supersized everything where we need to get back to like, hey, instead of building something, we help a lot of developers like, oh, I want to maximize my square footage on a lot to build. And let's say you built something, and yes, you could build 1,800 square feet. You got to sell that thing for 900,000. Which why I personally would not buy a townhouse at 900K if I could buy a house at 1.1. I'm going to spend more money on the house. But if you made your actual building smaller, cost less per square foot, you now only have to sell something at 650 to make a profit. But everyone like they just have this thought in their head, I gotta maximize the square footage. I need to sell this the most square feet. It's like actually downgrade your square footage, go to like 1,100 square feet compared to 18. Your costs go down and you get to sell it for less. And I feel like it would help people get into the market as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think there needs to be more of the missing middle type of properties, the 12 to 1,500 square feet townhouse kind of attached home living. I mean, I doubt there'll be single detached in those sizes because, I mean, they're not building any more single detached, but more townhome, semi living, I guess. So moving on here, I mean, there's this graph on here that's actually an excellent graph that's from the BMO Capital Markets here. It's comparing bear markets here. Now it's comparing us currently, the state that we're in. If you see us on the YouTube side here, we're in the red. The US was 2007 during the whole global financial crisis, Ontario in 1990, and then comparing how bear markets, how long will it take for a bear market to recover? Now, if you see her in the red, we're kind of in the middle of it now. And What I alluded to earlier, how long will it take for our housing market to recover? Based on this trajectory, we're kind of halfway through it. It's not like this is kind of a coincidence, not a prediction, but it's kind of cool to see how long it takes, those same markets to recover. Now, history doesn't repeat itself, but it also it sounds familiar, or it rings true. So yeah, based on this, I mean, it looks like the our housing market won't start recovering till like 2028, 2029. What do you think on that?
Again, it depends on the market you're in. My market would be different than that. I would be fine with it being like this, of having some, not stagnant, but just let's just have an easy ride for a while. I don't want these yo-yos of back and forth. Let's say we cut all these interest rates and everyone's ecstatic because rates are down lower. Well, that means the economy's not doing good, and it's also going to put pressure on the home prices. And so this is where I think if you look at your budgets correctly, like, this will be a great time to buy in a certain area. Am I going to go buy a really, really fancy home in Vancouver right now? I might wait, because I may have a better opportunity in a year from now. But obviously, like, every area is going to be different and what you want from it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we're kind of in a period now where um, things are stable for a little while. I mean, um, the likelihood of it going down in the next year or so is greater than it going up. But for the most part, you're not buying to flip like a stock or anything. You're buying to live. Um, it'll be a while before the return of the real estate investor, because right now the numbers don't make sense. Which means it's good
Well,
opportunity.
it only makes sense if you're actually buying it and doing what real estate investing was, buying it and fixing up and either increasing it for a rental market, or buying and fixing up and say, hey, I put 100,000 of sweat equity in it. Maybe I did a lot of the work myself. Hey, it's now worth 160,000 more. I built myself 60,000. Like, that is where real estate's actually gone back to how it should have been. Not just buy a place and be like, oh shit, it increased to 200,000 in 6 months.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
And then we obviously got this one when you're comparing Canadian home prices are 117% out of step with wages, which is, we have known this for a very long time. But to normalize this, prices would need to fall 50% or incomes would have to double. And this is the hardest thing, and why, again, our government's never going to say, hey, home prices need to drop by 50%. For one, a lot of people have like their retirement in their house. If they lost their, let's say, $1 million and went down to 500, they may now not be able to retire. I don't wish that. I'd be fine if I would be okay if my price went down. I would be perfectly fine with that if it was obviously going to benefit the greater good that way. But again, I don't see that happening. But I also don't see people's incomes doubling. Like, what I mean by that is, hey, if you're still working at Walmart, your income is not going to double overnight. But hey, you could go get other jobs. You could be working 2, 3 jobs, or hey, go start a business. There is ways to increase your income, and I think today is easier than ever. It is easier to go and double your income than it used to be 20 years ago. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see home prices falling 50%. I mean, it's already dropped 15% from the peak. Um, like I can totally see, like, I was talking to a realtor last week about um developers are really, especially the ones in the pre-sale developments, are trying to really lobby the government to, like, either get rid of the stress test, or maybe reduce it. So they asked, I was asked about my thoughts about it last week, and I provided my 2 cents about it. Like, personally, the stress test made sense when rates were low. When rates were 1.5%, um, it made sense to have it at 5.25. When rates shot up to the moon at 6.5%, we had to qualify people at 8.5%. No one was qualifying for anything back then, or something really low that it didn't make sense. And now that rates have returned back to more like normal, I mean, I would love to see stress tests removed altogether. I doubt it will be removed altogether, but even if you reduce it to like 1% above contract rate versus 2%, it's not going to encourage people to, borrow to the nines or anything, but
Um,
Now
you know,
the only way I can see that happening, Alex, is two ways. For one, we need to put bigger control on what people can get for personal limits of like credit cards and even auto loans. Like those need to be harder under wraps for lenders to be like, and even just off season hold to like take on that type of risk. Because we know today you could go get a house, $1 million mortgage. You may be like to the top of your qualifying. You walk into a truck shop the next day, they'll give you $1,000 vehicle loan, no questions. But that is because the way that they look at it is completely different. I feel like that would need to be really scrutinized, to say, hey, like you have to look at your mortgage debt and everything. And even for credit cards, the way that they do it in Australia is your limit affects you for qualifying. If you have a $20,000 credit card, even if you're not using it, it does go against your qualifying because they don't want people to be able to go and get into a bunch of debt. And so that's where it's like, hey, maybe we have to place some of those restrictions to be able to help people qualify for lower as well.
I would love to see regulations come down for credit cards and car loans because I've said it all across the history of our pod is the wild, wild west. And
Oh, it is.
people can do whatever they want after they get a mortgage. And
Yeah.
yeah, getting a credit card's easy. Getting a car loan's easy. Now, it just depends on your credit score, whether interest rate you get. But yeah, this is not helping. And I'm sure those in the credit card industry and in the car industry will totally lobby against this.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's almost like we are lobbying for financial literacy and for us to get out of this debt cycle, whereas their business encourages you taking on debt. So,
Oh,
I
and
don't know.
that's it's and I mean we're I'm gonna bring this up because we're gonna talk about it. I mean, there was news about Trump saying that hey, we want he wants to put a ban that credit cards can only charge 10% interest compared to 20 or 30%. The profits that these companies make, it's a 50% profit margin. And I mean, there's like, hey, yes, what if you had to drop your interest rate to 10%? Okay, your profit goes down to like 25%. You are still screaming. You're still making a lot of money. And vehicles back in the day, hey, yes, maybe when they were priced lower, okay, the Wild West, not a big deal. People are spending $150,000 to 70,000 on average for a vehicle. That is more than most people's homes cost back in the day. Now, all that debt's going forward, and we sit with people every day, Alex, like they sign that agreement to get that car loan. They don't fully understand what's coming out of their bank account. We could say, hey, your income is 100,000. If that's what it says on your letter of employment, but that's your gross income. That is what you're getting paid, but then you have to take off your taxes. And that's where most people aren't building those budgets to see what is the in and out of their actual bank account. I sit with so many people saying, hey, what if we just paid off that vehicle loan instead of putting more down? Well, why would I do that? Well, your vehicle loan's $1,100 a month right now. What if we took that monthly payment instead now, directed it to either investing or paying your mortgage off? And it blows my mind sometimes that it is in my head is such a basic thing, but most people don't even think about that. And
Yeah,
that is like actually how you could benefit.
yeah, from a mortgage qualifying perspective, I mean that $1,100 a month payment for the car, it reduces what they can borrow on the mortgage side by like 200,000, 200 to 250 of what they can borrow. So oftentimes they have the money. I'll be like, yeah, pay off your car loan first, put less down, and you actually can qualify for more.
I even showed a couple last week that hey, we were going to they had enough for 20%, but if they put the vehicle down, they obviously didn't. And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to pay the mortgage insurance." Their vehicle loan was still for another 7 years. I showed the difference of hey, yes, you have to pay this mortgage insurance now, but even if you guys take half of the savings from paying this, you're going to pay your mortgage off quicker and it's going to equal more than the mortgage insurance. And that's where like banks are just going to approve people. They qualified without it, but they didn't have anyone sit with them and show them, hey, how can I actually benefit myself for the future?
100%. All right. So, talking about household debt here, Canada's always been long kind of lauded as one of the least affordable countries in the world. Well, here is some, according to Trading Economics, they had a couple of, they rank here household debt as a share of GDP. Canada is number three at, I don't know what this unit is, but it's kind of basically 100% of our household debt as a share of GDP, next to Switzerland and Australia. And we know Australia has
Yeah.
always been
Yeah,
I think tough as
Australia is
well.
not as surprising, but like Switzerland is actually kind of surprising. I'm a bit surprised that it's up as high actually.
Yeah, and other European countries we see here, United States is further down on the list. I think it's what I can't count, but it's probably down to like 115 on the list here at
I think so.
68. Now, if you go further down to the other graph, I mean, China is further down. I think they're like number 20. But just the fact that you know household debt, other countries aren't as comfortable as debt as Canadians are, which is kind of sad.
But I would also be interested to know, like, if you compared it net worth for one in this, like, I would like to see that compared to it for net worth, and also home ownership. I mean, most people in China don't own, and that's where, like, I would also be interested to see what that looks like if you put it up together.
Yeah. For those of you who are watching on the YouTube side, you're slowly seeing Alex being drowned in the
Totally.
sun.
Yeah, the sun,
Because
sun is, I
we're
got no curtains there.
yeah, we're recording on a Monday afternoon. The sun is slowly coming up his face, and
Yeah,
he's getting a
I keep moving
suntan.
back
So
a little bit.
he looks kind of like a ghost, or being like, a light shining on him and everything.
Well, let's jump into Monopoly here. We're gonna play a game of Monopoly with Canada's problem here, and so we know that there's big players and high prices. And we'll put this up on the video side, and it's just showing you again like the grocery market share that 89% of the control is by three companies. You got Loblaw, Sobeys, and Metro. Is having that. You then get into the airline market. Air Canada WestJet dominates 56 to 78% of the domestic air travel. We'll keep going for more, but if anyone looks at this, if you go to the US, if you go to Europe, any of these other countries, they do not have this many people like for such a small amount for that big of a ownership. They have multiple other companies, and that is where you see competition breeds competitiveness. We don't have competition, so why would Air Canada or WestJet give a deal on a flight? It's gone a bit better, but what did WestJet try and do? They tried to reduce the size of the seats so that they could put more in to still increase their price by just the amount of people. It sounds like they got such backlash. I'm glad. I haven't been on a WestJet in a while. I'm 6'7". I wouldn't have fit in there. I would have been like, what the hell? I paid for this ticket. I can't even fit in the seat.
Yeah, and I mean, only did they got public backlash, did they back out and be like, "Oh, you know what? We
Mm.
decided to go back." I'm like, "Well, hell yeah. What do you think?" Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you some of you might have seen those AI things about people having the standing seats that were sandwiched in
Yeah.
between, and we don't know if that was real, but I'm like, man,
Yeah. I
that
mean,
would
I think there was talk of it, which is, and again, like, hey, if you were paying for a discount airline, like if you're on Flair, like you understand that you were paying this discount and it's for a reason. WestJet and Air Canada are saying that they're not discount airlines. And it's so funny. I remember 8 years ago, I hated Air Canada. They were the worst. They were the worst company ever. WestJet was so amazing. Their service was exceptional. It is crazy how bad they've gone. Like complete flop. Where Air Canada's now the better one.
it's kind of like pick your poison, to be honest. Like I agree with you. Like I've always liked WestJet because I didn't like Air Canada, but because they've gone downhill, I'm like, should I consider Air Canada again and take
I try book Air Canada flights now. I don't I shy away from WestJet just because it's gotten so bad.
yeah, and further down with this oligopoly um talk here, telecom here, Rogers, Bell, and Tel is controlling up to 90% of the mobile subscribers. Now, you might think there's competition out there. There's Fido, there's Virgin, there's Kudo, there's Chatter, there's all those other wireless companies. They are all subsidiaries of these
Of
big
those big
three. Most of them are. Um, yeah, Kudo, other ones. Either that or they are buying or they're renting lines off of these big three. So we need competition everywhere. And then we've always talked about the big six or big five and six. We need to have something that Europe has. Is it Europe or Asia? Open banking, where it's not difficult to have all our institutions in one location, where you can look at everything in one location without it be punitive not to. Um, yeah,
that's not going to happen because the banks are not going to I mean they'll be lobbying till the end to make sure that that doesn't happen that way. And I mean this source is I feel like the one thing that we've been seeing a lot is a lot of like smaller banks and like national bought out CWB. Like some of the banks are like they're joining forces, which is interesting to see like some changes that way. Credit unions are buying more. But again, does that mean that we're getting rid of the competitiveness? HSBC, before it got bought by RBC, used to have the lowest interest rates. Nowhere else would offer that. That was their competitive edge. They're now gone. They also had a really cool product where you could take a 5-year variable, and at the 3-year mark, you wouldn't have to pay a penalty. But now that it's with RBC, that's gone. And so, like, when we combine these things, we lose that competitiveness between all the different banks and lenders.
Yeah, I mean, when we heard recent news about Wealthsimple, Questrade getting banking licenses or planning to, we welcome it. Any small players looking to ramp up, we're like, yes, more competition. Um, will we ever see the day of all these industries opening up? It might take a generation, to be honest with you. I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime. These are one of
I
those
mean, you
things
see
that,
it like we see so many people now, like most people I talk to that are like 25 to like 30, they don't even have a TD account. Obviously, they have like EQ, they have Wealthsimple because they are so sick of, for one, they walk into the bank and they kind of treat them like dirt. They're like, well, I'm going to go somewhere else.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Any because things happen so slowly in Canada. All these like it's like shifting a cruise ship. It takes years and years. I mean, might take a decade for any
Yep.
of these industries to change and such. And it's almost like um there needs to be more of us to lobby for these things.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't end with just a soapbox on the pod. It'll take years and years and years and stuff. Um,
And it's hard. It's like what? Like I don't love TD. That's where my banking is. I mean, obviously, the only way is I'd have to pull all my funds. But again, it is we as Canadian would go for ease at the same time, and so that's and a lot of these companies know that, like Rogers and stuff. They know that you're probably not going to go call TELUS to try and get a better deal. They're just going to offer something, and leave it as is.
Yeah, the problem is with those kind of companies is because they have the best infrastructure, so they have the best service or the best
Yeah.
in terms of internet connectivity, your cell phone coverage, and all that stuff. And if you were to go to a smaller carrier for cheaper, then you're going to suffer on your service. So we kind of have to
Yeah.
bite the bullet and go with the big three and all that stuff, especially with cell phones and
Totally.
such. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next up here, we have the Fraser Institute. I mean, this is kind of a indictment on the healthcare system here. Um, Now, Fraser Institute is saying that over 105,000 Canadians left Canada to get healthcare somewhere else out of
Yeah.
country because over 20,000 people every year die waiting for care. Now, of course, as a people with the will and ability will still go elsewhere, and these numbers are only growing. And there needs to be private options. I know there people who've traveled to, Asia to do certain things like health checkups or certain things or and all that stuff. And I mean, what are your thoughts on this one?
I struggle with it every day there, to be honest, Alex. It's such a hard thing of again, we are lucky that we are maybe able to go pay for some private medicine, get into an MRI quicker and everything. Hardest thing is there's people that not even because of themselves, they're just not able to do that. And so the thing that I see is like, well, what if we did bring in some more privatization? Well, why would the doctors be willing to work over here and get paid less over here? Like, I understand, and I don't really know what the fix would be. I do think we have a problem here, and it's something that started like in COVID. We're like, holy shit, like we do not have the right amount of people here and our aging population, and we're not bringing in more nurses, we're not bringing in more doctors, and at the moment, it's only going to get worse. And in the defense, it is because a lot of our beds are filled with the older population, but there was just no plans for them. Our hospital where I live, it had 6,000 beds. It got filled up in a week of it opening, and 80% of those were from the older population. And so that is one fix that, yes, obviously as people die off, it might get easier there. But I know many people, like even in Vancouver, people like BC has a relationship with Washington that if we can't get the right like service, they send them down to Washington. We're obviously then paying like the BC government's paying Washington to pay the medical, which is again, hey, amazing that they did that to help people. But I also would be really upset if that wasn't my family. Why didn't I get bumped ahead? Why do I have to wait 2 years for something?
Yeah, I mean, we already have that kind of system in place a little bit, but I mean, I'm sure if you put a poll out there, with Canadians, would you be okay with having private options if you have the ability to do it? Now, of course, again, this boils my blood again about when we give away 24 billion to Ukraine. I mean, how could that not help our healthcare system here? I know there's, competing interests and all that stuff, but like when you see a number like this, it just, it's just sad about like, we say how great Canada is with free healthcare or socialized medicine, but our socialized medicine is not great. Like trying to find a family doctor here is good luck. Like we have one, and once if
Most
we
people don't.
downsize and move, so it's difficult. So, um, you know, this could be a solution. I mean, it's kind of like a band-aid, like, until we improve the socialized medicine, can we have some private options? Because I know people who fly to Asia to get like an MRI for like $200 or $300, and they're in like next day because everyone's available, or other countries who do that.
Well,
Um,
it's even like when we have a naturopath, and I know that you deal with too, like the response times for them are exceptional because they are being paid by us to do that. Where your doctor may not get back to you for 2 weeks. I have such a hard time. Like sometimes I know that they are running off their feet. Other times I'm like, you are sitting there and you're just doing something to be slow. And so that's where again it's such a hard time. I know many people that work in the hospitals and stuff, and they're running ragged. They're asking for more staff and everything, but we're obviously cutting costs in certain ways. But then there's like executive, or some of these hospitals have like 6 executives that are making 500-600K. And it's like, what are they even doing?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we almost need an overhaul of our healthcare system. Now, let's not have consultant after consultant spending money to tell us it's not efficient. We already know from the general public it's not efficient. So, um, yeah, it just needs to be run better. I don't know, like, it's almost like changing government or something like that, or we just need certain priorities. Like, you know what? We'll have to deal with it eventually, or almost now. If you hold off until like the boomers are fully and we have a crisis on our hands, then it's almost too late. Like we almost need to prepare for this as our parents are aging. The boomers are aging now into like needing more healthcare, more retirement homes, all that stuff. We need to address it now, or else it's gonna
And
look.
again, that's where we've obviously talked about like bringing in immigrants and stuff. Well, there's many immigrants that are working at McDonald's that have like doctorates and PhDs and everything. But hey, yes, their training was not the same. But hey, we should have a program set up. Be like, hey, you're going to go through a year-long program. We're even gonna fund it for you so that you can become a doctor here in Canada. Like that is the type of stuff that we need to be funding. Or hey, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a care home person. Hey, we want to help you do that. Like that's where our money should be going.
Yeah, 100%. We've talked about it too, about like when immigration, like we're not anti-immigration, we're anti how it was done. Once it's sensible, bring in skilled workers in the medical and trades, what it's needed, then yes. Um, our episode's gone longer than we want. We have a whole bunch of the on the docket. We'll have to push that forward till next week. But Alex, you have an exciting week planning up, right? This weekend. Tell me
I'm
how the weekend's gonna work out for you.
I mean, again, well, this is the negatives of being on the island. Obviously, there's some travel stuff that have to be sorted. So at the moment, the plan is to go and catch the Hello Ferry, get that over to Vancouver, catch the Amtrak, the train down to Seattle. And it's honestly, yes, we could drive and everything, but it's more of just like a chance for me and my wife to hang out with no kids on a train. You can get some food, some drinks, and everything. We're gonna do it over 2 nights just so we actually get to enjoy some of Seattle. I mean, I've been to Pike Place many times, but it's always fun to go back there. We'll probably even do the Needle again, just to go look at it and stuff. And then yeah, go to the game. And my voice has been gone last week. I was fighting a bit of a flu. It's still a little bit iffy right now. It's gonna get really iffy after the weekend.
Oh, you know what? And hopefully by the next time we record this, we're celebrating a NFC Championship win and a trip to the Super Bowl. The next time we record, man, yeah, hopefully your voice is gone. Or you know what? Actually, based on our schedule, we might have one more recording before you leave. But yeah, it'll be a good time. I believe you're just going to take you and the missus, right? Just the two of you?
Yeah, correct. Just going to be me and my wife there. And yeah, we haven't been to a game since the last game we went to was in 2019 before we had my oldest kid here. She went actually pregnant and everything. We got stuck in an Uber. We had to run to the stadium just because it got too long. And so yeah, we're really excited to go back.
Nice. Awesome. So folks, this about wraps it up. As always, if you like this episode, please like, subscribe, follow on Spotify, YouTube, give us a 5-star review, and share it with a family or friend who you might think that would value this episode, because we're trying to grow our community, and let's keep growing. On behalf of Alex Shanks, I'm Alex Pang. Thanks for tuning into episode 71 of the Canadian Mortgage Show. We'll see you next time.
Now, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to follow us. Please give us a 5-star rating. You can even send us an email because we want to know what you guys want to hear about. That's what we're here for. Reach out anytime.